y'all got home from the state. That's how crazy it was. So I got from Dothan to there.
I guess we'll start with you, Mr. Butler, and then we'll go directly to the clerk.
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation, sorry about that, my recommendation goes straight to the clerk. Otherwise, we're going to get in trouble.
Well stated, Mr. Butler. We'll move directly to the clerk. Madam Clerk?
Okay, gentlemen, just as we always do, I have to tell you a few things before we can start passing resolutions or discussing any other matters. The aggregate proposed millage rate is 6.0553. This aggregate rate does not include the current millage levy for the voted debt service for the Gulf and Interior MSTUs. This is 7.74% below the current year aggregate rollback rate of 6.5631. The tentative county-wide millage rate as it stands now is 5.7419, excluding the fire districts and MSTUs. The maximum millage rate that you can adopt at this final hearing is 5.7419, unless you vote to adopt a lesser rate. And remind you that as you vote on these resolutions for the millage rates, they do have to be measured by each commissioner's vote. The dependent fire district's tentative budgets include millage rates of 0.4 mils for the St. Joseph Fire Control District, and half a mil each for the Tupelo, Overstreet, and Howard Creek fire districts. The Gulfront MSTU voted debt service rates, Gulfront is 6.6995, which is a decrease of 3.3005 from the 2011-12 adopted millage rate. The Gulf Interior is 3.5014, a decrease of 1.3435 from the 2011-12 adopted millage rate. And the voted debt millage rates are not subject to the rollback limitation. At this time, I do have a couple of requests that I will bring before you for your consideration and vote. In discussions with your Deputy Administrator Lowry and my Finance Director, Ms. Hand, there were some line item budget amendments that need to be made. And one, you have a sheet in front of you that outlines this. And we're decreasing in the general fund your interfund transfer in the SHIP fund of $30,000 and reserve for contingencies by $33,000, and increasing your audit services by $3,000. In the SHIP fund, you're reducing the interfund transfer out to the general fund by $30,000, and increasing the administrative costs for the grant by $30,000. These line item changes are due to the possible delay in the spending of the SHIP administrative funds, resulting in a decrease for the general fund of $30,000 and a zero change really in the SHIP fund. So if you will entertain a motion to accept these line item changes so that we can make them in the budget, please.
Wishes of the board?
Motion to accept.
Motion, Commissioner Yeager. Second, Commissioner Smiley. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the next thing I have for you to consider is combining the Gulf County EMS Department and the Weewahitchka Ambulance Service. They were submitted separately as separate budgets in your tentative budget that you adopted back on the 10th of this month. But back in December of 2011, your EMS Director, Mr. Houston Whitfield, reported that he had received a new license from the state stating that you're now currently officially just one service unit under Gulf County EMS. So if the board would entertain a motion to combine those two departments into one.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Got a motion, Commissioner Yeager, second, Commissioner McDaniel. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, at this time I have a resolution for your consideration. Anytime you increase or change the revenues in a budget after you've already done the tentative, you have to do it by resolution. We've had a request from the TDC who anticipates having additional revenue to carry forward, and these additional revenues will be used for expenditures in the fiscal year 2012-13. Looking at variety of revenue sources which total $169,832. That would be the first resolution in your packet that you're looking at. And this is done in coordination with Ms. Jenkins, and where the line item changes and the additional revenues come into effect. So the board would entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Motion, Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Yeager. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0.
The next resolution for your consideration is at the request of Deputy Administrator Lanier, who has asked for the additional cash carry forward for the EMS Impact Fee Fund and the Corrections Impact Fee Fund. The EMS one is $19,772, and the Corrections is $7,671, and you also have a resolution in front of you for that. These expenditures will be used in the fiscal year 2012-13.
Issues of the board? So moved, Mr. Chair. Motion, Commissioner Yeager.
Question. Mr. Whitfield, are you comfortable here?
Yes.
Have a second? Second, Commissioner McDaniel. Any opposition?
All right.
Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0.
The next resolution that I have is for also a request for additional cash carry forward in the general fund. This is at the request of Emergency Management Director Nelson, who has requested to carry forward $30,000 to be used to fund an emergency management capital improvement reserve in 2012-13.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Motion, Commissioner Yeager. Second, Commissioner Smiley. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the last one that I have as a request for additional cash carry forward is from two funds and two sources. That is, first one is cash to be brought forward in the general fund in the amount of $44,997. This is for the grant match and completion of remodeling of the Gulf EMS. This was requested through Ms. Lanier and Mr. Whitfield. And also the St. Joe Fire Control District, the Beaches Fire Department had requested that $1,624 be carried forward. This is money that they raised through their local donations and fundraisers and things like that, and they determined that this amount will be left over and has requested that that also be carried forward. We'll put all of this in one resolution for your consideration.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Motion, Commissioner Yeager.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Commissioner McDaniel. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, let me catch up myself here. At this time, unless the board has any other changes that need to be made to the budget, it'll be an appropriate time for you, Mr. Chair, to call for public comments.
Recommendation is the clerk. Any public comment? Lee? Go on. No public comment. Noted. Can I say something to that, Mr. Chairman? Absolutely.
We've been here for 4 years now, and in the last 4 years, we've seen our budgets decreased, and we've made the decision to do that. We've worked hard with staff and many other folks involved in that budgeting process. And I was involved for the first 3 years with the Budget Committee, and thank goodness Mr. McDaniel wanted to try it 1 year, and he took it the reins this year. And, you know, for the public to understand, we went from levying $12.6 million down to about 7.6 or 7.7, 40% that we've cut in different ways. And one of the things, and I wanted to mention this a while ago for EMS, when I first came on, one of the things that, you know, that I definitely saw was EMS and billing and the amount that we collected and on the revenue side. and Houston has worked really hard. That department now is getting close to actually operating on with zero tax dollars. I mean, they've really done a great job. They've pulled together and they're doing all the things that they need to do to help the taxpayer be able to foot that bill. And there's many things that we could go through, but I even see that, you know, it's not very often that you don't see the press here. But that's a noted thing that this board has been able to do, is to cut 40% out of that budget. And for anybody to say that we're not managing this budget right, they're just misstating the facts. So,
Commissioner Yeager, I agree with you, and I applaud both you and Commissioner McLemore for the leadership in the past, not only at Share, but the work there. You don't go through multi-year vision and reductions of a 40% magnitude in the county, and for us to be holding that, if you look at some of the surrounding counties and the increases that they have appropriated, we continue to hold the line. And so, through the commissioners that have been here, and certainly the new commissioners here, they have been partners in advocating hold the line on the taxes. And so I applaud the entire board.
Okay, gentlemen, at this time we'll have several resolutions to adopt, setting forth your millage levies and the budgets. And if you don't mind, since I covered a lot of these numbers in my opening statement, I
Can we call it individual roll?
well, when we vote, you will have to
Okay.
call individual roll. Only thing that I didn't mention in the opening statement was the gross taxable value for operating purposes that's certified by the property appraiser. That'll be in one of these resolutions. It's $1,352,299,477. The first resolution for your consideration is a resolution adopting the millage levy for the countywide millage rate of 5.7419.
wishes of the board?
Got a motion, Mr. McLemore?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Yeager. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0. I'm sorry. Individually, let me call it out. Mr. Yeager, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley? And the chair votes yes. That's a 5-0 vote, both unanimously voted and independently called.
The next resolution for your consideration is a resolution adopting the budget of the countywide budget.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion, Commissioner Yeager?
Second.
Got a second, Commissioner McDaniel. Let me call individually. Commissioner McLemore?
Yes.
Commissioner Smiley?
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner McDaniel and the board that vote yes. Unanimously voted and individually affirmed.
I'm so proud that we're just following state statute. Says we
Like a
have to do it.
bird dog on a hunt. Look at me go.
Okay, the next resolution for your consideration is adopting the millage levy of .4 mills for the St. Joseph Dependent Fire District.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Commissioner Yeager.
Second.
Second, Commissioner McDaniel. Yes?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And the board votes yes. Unanimous vote and individually affirmed.
Maybe the next one is the resolution adopting the budget of the St. Joseph Dependent Fire District.
Need a motion, gentlemen?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion, Commissioner Yeager.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smiley. By individual vote, Mr. McLemore.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And the board votes yes. Unanimously voted and independently affirmed.
Mr. Chair.
Next one is the resolution adopting the millage levy of the Tupelo Dependent Fire Control District at $0.5 mil.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion, Mr. Yeager.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smiley. Individually, Mr. McLemore, Mr. Smiley,
Yes.
Mr. Yeager, Mr. McDaniel, and the board vote, the chair votes yes. Unanimously and individually affirmed.
Next one is a resolution adopting the budget for the Tupelo Dependent Special Fire District.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Mr. Yeager.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smiley. Individually, Mr. McLemore,
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and the board, and the chairman votes yes. Unanimous vote and individually affirmed.
Next one is a resolution adopting the millage levy of $0.50 for the Overstreet Dependent Fire District.
So moved. Got a motion, Commissioner Smiley. Second. Second, Commissioner McDaniel. Mr. McLemore?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager? Mr. McDaniel? And the chair votes yes. Unanimous vote and individually affirmed.
Next resolution is adopting the budget of the Overstreet Dependent Special Fire District.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Commissioner Yeager. Second. Second, Commissioner McDaniel. Mr. McLemore?
Yes.
Commissioner Smiley?
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager?
Yes.
Commissioner McDaniel?
Yes.
And the chairman votes yes. Unanimous vote and individually affirmed.
Next one is a resolution adopting the millage levy of the Howard Creek Dependent Fire District at $0.50.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Mr. Yeager.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smiley. Mr. McLemore?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel? And the chairman votes yes. Unanimous vote and individually affirmed.
Next resolution is for adopting the budget of the Howard Creek Dependent Special Fire District.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Mr. Yeager.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smiley. Mr. McLemore?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
And the chairman votes yes. Unanimous vote and individually affirmed.
Just 1 second.
Motion to give a second.
Okay. Okay. Next is a resolution adopting the millage levy for the MSTU. The Gulf side is 6.6995. And although you see there a resolution for both, we're going to separate those.
So moved for the Gulf side, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Commissioner Yeager.
Second, Mr.
Second,
Chairman.
Commissioner McDaniel. Mr. McLemore?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
And the board chairman votes yes. Unanimously voted and affirmed individually.
Okay. Also, a resolution is needed for adopting the millage levy for the Gulf side interior MSTU. It's 3.5014.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Mr. Yeager.
Second.
Second, Mr. McDaniel. Mr. McLemore?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
And the chairman votes yes. Unanimous vote and individually affirmed.
Okay. The final resolution for your consideration is the resolution adopting the budget for the MSTU fund.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion, Mr. Yeager.
Second, Mr.
Second, Mr. McDaniel. Mr. McLemore?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
And the chairman votes yes. Unanimous vote, individually affirmed.
Let me say on that news to you that this is the final year of that. And matter of fact, it's a reduced amount that we had to levy because we had some in reserve. These people voted themselves a tax to build that beach and to many of the public use. And it'll be paid off this year. Mr. Butler and I have been working with FEMA to try to make sure that we continue to do that project, and it's a testament to those folks out there that were willing to put their money where their mouth was and protect that area. So they protect the tax base of this county.
And Commissioner Yeager, again, applauding the efforts that you, particularly in the staff, Don, and others, I know Jennifer's been involved. This MSTU, and that is a huge, huge issue for this county. And it strengthens our argument every time we're in front of FEMA and other state and federal agencies that our citizens stood up and did this vote upon themselves for additional taxes when we did the $22 million beach renourishment. And it supports the state's investment and our argument. So kudos to those folks as they have fought through this. Okay, Mr. Butler, anything else? Mr. Novak, you've been mighty quiet. There's got to be something legally we've messed up. We're all good? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. 20 minutes, Mr. McLemore.
Very good. It's about time you done something, right?
Empty.